everybody, and welcome along to our Wednesday session at Data Science Festival Winterfest Online. We've been having a great week so far, actually. We've had a couple of very busy days, some great content, very interactive. So I'm hoping today remains the same. In terms of today's session, we are joined by our good friends from dunnhumby. You can see their logo there, front and center, front and center. For anyone that's been following along with the Data Science Festival, you probably already know I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of dunnhumby. We're coming up actually next year. I was just chatting with Rajat and Namish before we started the webinar. Next year is actually our 10th year. And dunnhumby were involved in the very first year. So they've been a partner for a long time. I think in one way or another, we've done something nearly every year across the 10. And even this week, we have been talking with dunnhumby about next year and what we can do to celebrate our 10th birthday with dunnhumby. So very pleased to be welcoming Rajat and Namish. If I could ask you both actually to turn your cameras and microphones on, I'll give you a little bit of an introduction as we're building to it. But just before I get into it, how are you both doing? Are you glad to be with us today?
Very, very happy, David. How are you? How are you doing?
Mate, very good, very good, very good, man. What about yourself, Namish?
I'm also doing good, David. Thanks a lot for
Amazing.
asking.
Mate, pleasure. It's so good to have you with us. Rajat is actually a return speaker, which is always good when people want to come back. It's a good sign for us. Rajat is an applied data science manager at dunnhumby. Namish, senior applied data scientist. And they're giving our keynote session of the week. It was the one that I circled straight away. And in terms of that competitive response planning suite, turning threats into strategic advantage. As mentioned, it's interactive. The chat is open, so do feel free to say hello. Nordin has already been in there. Hi, everyone. So great to have you with us, Nordin. One of my absolute favourites in the community. And also the Q&A feature is obviously there. So if you do have any questions as the presentation's going on, feel free to stick your questions in. And Rajat and Namish have very kindly said they'll stick around at the end to answer our questions. So with that, I think we're starting with you, Rajat, aren't we? It's a bit of a dream team situation. So Rajat's going to kick us off. Namish is going to come back in and present part in the middle, finish up with Rajat, and then we'll have the Q&A at the end. So if it's okay, Rajat, I'll get you to share your screen, check that all works, and then we'll go from there. And just as I'm doing it, Rauda said hi in the chat. Little tip for everyone: if you send a message to hosts and panelists, it comes to us. If you change that to everyone, everyone gets to see you saying hello. So again, Zahid joined us from Hertfordshire in the UK. So yeah, great to have you with us, Zahid. Yeah, if I could ask you to share your screen, Rajat.
Yes, David.
Maria is with us as well. Hello from chilly Manchester, Maria. Good to have you with us, Maria. And Oscar, hello from Brighton in the UK. Anyone international? Have we got an international member that wants to jump in and say where they're joining from? We'll see. Mate, your screen is looking awesome, Rajat. So if you're happy, I think maybe Namish, you and I will turn our cameras off. We'll leave you to it, Rajat. And then Rajat, if you can invite Namish back when you're ready, that would be great. So hand it over to you now.
Perfect. Thanks, David. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, based on whatever part of the world you guys are joining from. I hope all of you are doing great and you are really looking forward to today's session. For all those of you who don't know me, I am Rajat, and joining me, we have Namish. And it's a real pleasure for both of us to be sharing our work as part of the keynote session of this year's Winterfest, right? Now, as David already mentioned earlier, both of us are from dunnhumby, an organization that, of course, needs no introduction. But for those of you who don't know us, dunnhumby is a global leader in the customer data science, helping the retailers and brands transform how they understand and engage with their customers, right? So for more than 30 years, we have been into the business and we have been helping the retailers and our brands grow by making better decisions. So these are the decisions that are powered by data, enhanced through science, and always customer first. So, ranging from those loyalty and media things to the pricing and promotions, we connect the entire retail ecosystem, enabling deeper collaboration, better customer experiences, and the value that lasts forever. Now, quantifying the entire thing that we just talked about, because numbers, end of the day, really matters, our scale speaks for itself. We work with over 1,000 clients across 30 countries, supported by nearly 2,500 employees, while generating insights from a whopping 1.3 billion customer interactions. Simply put, dunnhumby is exactly where the data meets customer centricity to drive sustainable growth with one clear mission: to help the businesses grow and reimagine themselves as the champions of their customers. Now, when we know who we are and where we have come from, let's just lay the ground of the main topic of today's session, the competitor response planning suite, one of our key innovations that embodies this dunnhumby philosophy we just talked about. But before we talk about what the project is, why it really matters, and how exactly it's transforming the decision making for our clients, let's quickly have a look at today's agenda. We'll start by setting up the stage, exploring the immense competitor threat the retailers around the globe face day in and day out, and why exactly a proactive response to this threat really matters. We'll then move on to understand the whole anatomy of the key signs and solutions we have built as part of the response suite and the value they are bringing to the table. And finally, we'll discuss the strategy hub, our Voila dashboard that hosts all these solutions together for that seamless execution and the opportunity identification, right? That mixture or a blend, I can say, that is positively shaping the future of the retail decisions for all our retail partners. So yes, tighten your seatbelts and join us in this journey for next 35 to 40 minutes to discuss all these points in far more detail. Now, let's start our introduction by visualizing a very common scenario a retailer faces day in and day out, right? Now, I want all of you to momentarily fit in the shoes of a retailer with multiple outlets, with a very, very great, brand value, located somewhere in the suburbs of, let's say, London, right? That's where David comes from. So for the sake of simplicity, let's call our retailer the Armad store. Now, suddenly, there's a new competitor A that opens its store near our beloved Armad store, luring your customers with a very competitive price point, better ambience, and maybe lucrative discounts. Now, it's not difficult for any of us to imagine that this will have a very, very negative impact on our store, which in extreme conditions can lead to the customer churn. Now, something we have already witnessed in the animations on your screen, right? Now, to make things worse, this is not the only threat that impacts the business of the Artmart stores. It's not just these new store openings that create this threat, but also the landscape of the already existing stores, which slowly yet steadily keep on eroding the base of your customers, especially those non-loyals and opportunity seekers, right? Who are always on a hunt of a better value of their money. And I'm pretty sure many of us are like that, right? For example, I also, as a customer, that's exactly how I look forward towards opportunity, towards, where exactly the most value I'm getting for every single penny that I'm shelling out. Now, stuck in the middle of these major threats posed by both the advent of a new store, now something that you can see on the right of your screen, as well as the ones continuously looming by the existing competitors, the ones represented towards the left, the retailer is always required to stand on its toes with those proactive measures to sustain its business. Because obviously, in case if it does not do that, it will face the unfortunate fate of permanent closure. Now, these three scenarios, which might look very simple superficially, they are in reality the three major challenges that together create the triangle of competitor turbulence. A triangle not very difficult for any of us to imagine that none of the retailers would ever want to be in. Talking about the whole threat in general, the overall concept of competitor threat, it's not actually a new one, right? And it has predominantly been a major point of the pain for the retailers around the globe since the inception, maybe. Now, in one of its latest reports on US retail industries, Deloitte, an organization, again, every one of us know about, it has highlighted the need of personalization in attracting and retaining the customer bases. However, what really appears to be very shocking, at least to me, is the limitation either in the form of these outdated systems or those siloed data that cripples these retailers in designing that proactive framework to gain that competitive advantage. And of course, Deloitte is not the only organization which has highlighted the gravity of this threat, right? Now, there are multiple other reports that highlighted a common theme, a theme that says that these competitor threats, they are widely shaping the retail strategies across the globe. Now, whether it's a new entrant which is disrupting your categories, or those established rivals which are doubling down on pricing and promotions, the retailers everywhere, they are under pressure. They are under pressure to respond quickly and effectively without single exception. But there's one thing that these reports make very, very clear. The fact that the reactive decisions, they just aren't enough. The retailers today, they need proactive, data-driven strategies that anticipate competitive moves while keeping the customers at the very, very center of every single decision they take. And that's exactly where a solution, the competitor response planning suite, comes into picture. Talking about the solution, as you can clearly see on your screen also, CRP, something which we are using as an abbreviation for the whole suite in general. It's a big name for sure. So CRP, it's a path-breaking predictive data-driven solution, which we have designed within dunnhumby to help our retail partners navigate this complexity, turning the competitive challenges into the opportunities for growth. The suite, and of course, the reason why it's called a suite, it's a collection of 3 different solutions that we have tailored to mitigate the 3 key challenges comprising the triangle of competitor turbulence. In the coming slides, both Namish and I will try our best to break down each of these solutions to help you all understand the background, the challenges, how we approached it using data science, the predictive modeling, what impact we have seen in the real world scenarios, and finally, how we ensured these solutions deliver consistent and reliable outcomes. So without further ado, let's begin our first solution, the newcomer response engine. Now, this is the engine that addresses the first vertex of what we call the triangle of competitor turbulence, right? Which is the entry of a new competitor. Now, this is a very common challenge in retail that when a new player enters the market, they often come armed with those aggressive pricing and attractive promotions to lure your customers away, right? And I, again, want all of you to just take a pause for a moment and recall that one time when a new store that opened near you and it showered you with, those multiple tempting offers and discounts. And I'm pretty sure you would have been tempted heavily to maybe switch from your existing retailer to that store. Now, traditionally, all these retailers, they have been responding to this advent of a new competitor with the mass offers, which is nothing but a blanket approach that's not just heavy on their pocket, but is also a very ROI ineffective methodology, right? Now, to make things even more complicated, not all the competitors even have the same impact on these operating store. Just think of it, right? A new grocery store, for example, it doesn't possess the same threat as that of a specialty store, right? Or even a Tesco store for that matter will not have the same threat as that of the Aldi stores. And this is exactly where the newcomer response engine comes in. It's a predictive model which we have designed to forecast customer churn based on the type of competitor entering the market using customized models for different competitor types. And that further, enables your retailer to do that proactive churn prediction, right? That sits at the very heart of the whole objective. And what this means, it simply means that the retailers can now move beyond from those broad and costly strategies to now the targeted and personalized interventions for the high risk customers that further enables them to strategize, something that is both cost efficient as well as ROI effective. And of course, it comes with a significantly higher success rate and retention also, right? So in short, it's transforming the whole reactive guesswork into the proactive precision. Now, for all those of you who might be wondering how we built it, here's a glimpse of the step-by-step process that we followed. Now, as you can see on your screen, our methodology is designed to combine rich data, smart segmentation, and advanced modeling into that one cohesive process. We start with the prerequisites, particularly around the customer and the demographic data, the behavioral segmentations, and geolocation metrics, right? Metrics, something like the location of the stores, the opening dates, some other attributes to give us the foundation to understand both your customers and the competitive context. Next comes the customer profiling. Another important part where we actually map all these lapses based on the frequency of purchase across the pre and post event periods, which further helps us identify the behavioral shifts triggered by the competitor entry. We then move to the competitor bucketing, where we group the competitors into distinct categories using market landscapes, business models, the target segments, the strategic positioning. Because as we explained earlier with that Tesco and Aldi example, not all the competitors are created equal, and neither is the threat that they bring to the table. Now, once your data is structured, we perform the standard pre-processing steps like the handling of missing values, treatment of outliers, scaling features, and addressing class imbalances using multiple techniques. For example, KNN has been a technique we used for the imputations, mode for the imbalances, etc. Now, with clean and balanced data, we move to model training, where we use a mix of approaches like the classical models, bagging methods, the boosting algorithms, which are further rigorously validated using k-fold cross-validation and the hyperparameter tuning. And finally, we generate predictions. The most interesting step of the overall methodology, arguably, where we estimate the churn propensity for each customer in response to the competitor events, segmenting your overall base into your high, medium, and low risk buckets, enabling precise and targeted interventions. So all in all, it's basically using 6 different pillars to transform the whole raw data into actionable intelligence so that your retailers they can respond with confidence. But of course, when it comes to the overall essence of this model, it's really important to understand what really powers it end of the day, right? Which are the driving variables. Now, these are the factors that you can see on your screen that influence the churn prediction and make our engine accurate and actionable. Some of the key drivers include the footfall patterns, how exactly the visits of your customers look like, the competitor zones where a customer lies in relation to the competitors, whether it's a very competitive density place, whether it's low in competitor density, etc. The frequency of purchase, I, as a customer, how many times I'm visiting a particular store, the recency of visits, when was the last time a customer visited that store, my sensitivity towards prices, whether I'm an upmarket customer, prices do not bother me, or whether I'm a very price sensitive customer, I am really looking for things which are lesser in prices, maybe compromising on the quality, and similarly, many other behavioral indicators. But what really stands out as a more interesting part are the variables that we have highlighted in blue. Now, these are the geolocation based features which we have derived from our third party partner, and they add a whole new dimension to the prediction accuracy. Think about it, right? Now, knowing not just how your customer behaves, but where they move, which competitor zones they cross, and how store attributes influence their choices. These insights, they allow us to predict churn with precision and craft hyper-local strategies that truly resonate with the whole objective of your retailer. In short, these are the variables which turn our model from good to exceptional because it's a widely established fact that location intelligence is the game changer in the competitive response. But all of this makes more sense when we validate our model using some key performance metrics. So for that, in quest of the best results, we experimented with 3 different modeling techniques, logistic regression, random forest, and cat boost to predict lapses with maximum confidence. And across all the key performance metrics, recall, accuracy, specificity, everything that you can see already on the screen, cat boost has consistently outperformed the others. It delivered more reliable predictions and greater confidence in identifying the high-risk customers. Now, for those of you who are wondering why exactly does this even matter, it's simply because when it comes to the competitive response, precision by default is everything. A model that's just slightly better at identifying churn, it can translate into millions in retained revenue, an amount none of the retailers would ever want to lose out. To establish this fact even further and to ensure that CatBoost truly adds value, we compared its performance against a very, very naive methodology also. It's a simple no model framework that represents what a typical analyst might try in the absence of advanced modeling. Under this approach, we selected features that showed a meaningful relationship with lapsing customers. For example, the recency again, the frequency, how they have been shopping, etc. We did some basic data processing steps and finally calculated an unweighted average of these features to create a composite score to classify your customers on the basis of their naive propensity to lapse. A very straightforward approach, it might look like, but something that any data scientist will try in the absence of time and more robust approach. And again, not surprising enough, even the results that we got, it was very aligned with what we were expecting. So where we can see that the cat boost, which is the model we have actually tried, it has outperformed this naive method by leaps and bounds across every single metric. This comparison, as again, it just reinforces why robust and predictive modeling is essential. Your simple heuristics, it's easy, you can try it, but then it can give you just a starting point. They can never match the precision and confidence that these advanced models deliver, and especially when millions of dollars in customers' retentions are at stake, right? But competitor turbulence doesn't stop with new entrants. Existing rivals, The second vertex of your triangle, if you remember right at the very start, something we discussed, those already entrenched in the market pose an equally significant challenge. They know the game, they know the customers, and they often respond aggressively with the pricing and promotions. And this is exactly where our second solution, the established rival engine, come into picture. Now, this is a solution which we have designed to mitigate these threats by helping the retailers anticipate and counter moves from those long-standing competitors. Now, let's quickly deep dive into, how exactly the whole framework works. In case if I have to simply put it, if the new entrants, something we have been discussing so far, if they are the ones who are creating turbulence, then the existing competitors, something we're about to discuss now, they create sustained pressure. Now, their presence in the market, they bring three major challenges. Although there are multiple challenges, three of them are something we have highlighted in this particular slide. It's particularly around the shift in loyalty, the declining footfall, and finally the market share erosion, and everything culminating towards that brand dilution. So the question that might arise at this moment is that how do we respond to these challenges? The solution lies with predictive churn modeling that enables three critical actions, namely early detection to spot these at-risk customers before disengagement happens, the targeted retention, and the data-driven decisions to optimize store operations and marketing investments for the maximum impact. And what's the outcome? It is the minimized revenue leakage, improved customer loyalty, and a sustained competitive edge that turns this competitive pressure into strategic advantage. Let's now have a look on how we make that happen. Now, earlier we saw in the newcomer response engine that, which basically predicted churn, which was triggered by new entrants. But when it comes to the existing rivals, the dynamics are very, very different. And so should be our approach, right? So we begin by mapping the retailer's active store network and enriching it with geospatial attributes to gather that competitive landscape at a granular level. We next identify the nearby competitors using geolocation and analyze the critical metrics for both your client as well as your competitor stores. Now, unlike the newcomer analysis, something we were discussing, this step focuses on sustained patterns rather than sudden disruptions. Then we build the customer DNA. It's a behavioral fingerprint derived from the transactional patterns of your customers, and we integrated it with the whole competitor data to understand the store preference and how loyalty shifts, how customers are shifting from, let's say, an engaged or maybe a very loyal customer to a disengaged or a non-loyal customer. We then move to the data preprocessing, applying standard scaling, imputations for the missing values, the outlier treatments, the correlation checks. Maybe similar rigor to what we discussed in the first model, but tailored to the complexity of the multi-store interactions. The next step is the selection of the best model with the most accurate prediction, followed by the validation of the model on recent data, confirming that predictions align with real-world outcomes and provide actionable insights for the retention strategies. Series of methodology that we just discussed. It's been a longer list of methodology, but it's basically designed for depth, capturing long-term competitive pressure and translating it into the precise and data-driven interventions. Again, when it comes to the driving variables, just like the newcomer response engine, this model relies on a mix of behavioral and contextual signals. But what's the twist? The twist basically arises with the shift in emphasis from the sudden disruption to the sustained influence. The key drivers now, if you'll see, it includes familiar factors like footfall, frequency of purchase, recency, the sensitivity towards prices, because obviously loyalty and spend patterns, it still matters. But the real differentiator lies in the geospatial variables, something that we have encircled in blue, which captures the competitive intensity at a hyperlocal level using metrics like dwell time, the competitor zone proximity, and store clustering, which are derived from our third-party partners. Now, the reason why it's important is mainly because when the competitors, they are entrenched, location dynamics, it becomes the battleground. Understanding how your customers move, where they linger, and which competitor zones they cross, it allows us to predict churn with absolute precision. So in a nutshell, even though the foundation looks very similar, the story these variables tell is very different. One of the long-term pressures and strategic positioning rather than that of the short-term disruption we earlier talked about. But what exactly did the result tell us? When I talk about that quest again for that precise prediction, we tested two modeling approaches, the logistic regression and the CAD boost, to predict churn from the existing rivals this time. And across all key metrics, Cat Boost again outperformed logistic regression, giving us a more confident and reliable prediction framework. But that's not where we actually stopped, right? So we ensured that there are more robustness to the whole system, and we ran an out of time validation on a completely separate data frame, and the outcome was remarkable. As you can see on your screen, the top five deciles, they alone correctly identified 96% of total lapses, which is truly remarkable. Think of it from a retailer perspective, how much cost they are saving with this number. The reason, the whole result in a nutshell, they just proved that our model isn't just accurate in theory, it delivers in practice, enabling retailers to act early and retain customers even before they disengage. So in conclusion, the two engines mitigating the two major threats we have discussed, from either from the competitor advent, given the retailers, how exactly the new competitors are actually propping up, irrespective of whether it's triggered by a new entrant or an established rival, it's actually, enabling a directed, targeted strategy to retain your customers who are on the verge of lapsing. And also, of course, protecting your loyalty and revenue in the time being. But as we discussed, in the triangle of turbulence, the churn isn't always a small ripple. And when it becomes severe, the impact can escalate to store closures, an outcome no retailer can afford. And this is the part when personalized offers we have been discussing so far, the strategies we have been building so far, they're just not enough. And the game shifts from the individual retention to the store level intervention using in-store media channels to win back these shopper attention that's maybe lost. And that's exactly where our third and the final solution, the point of sale target engine, steps in, which is designed to help the retailers take this leap from customer level precision to the store level action. And to explain how this works and why it's a game changer, I'll hand it over to Namish. Namish, maybe you can switch on your camera and your microphone.
Yeah, thanks, Rajat. Thanks a lot for setting up the context. I hope everyone is enjoying the session and is having a great time. So yes, before we deep dive into the solution, it is really important to understand why this capability is very critical. As Rajat has already mentioned earlier, when the competitor pressure intensifies, retailers need to be more proactive so as to influence the customers right at the point of the decision. This is where our POS targeting engine comes into picture. Think of it as a last mile of customer engagement. The shelves, the display screens, which you see inside the stores, where the purchase decisions are made. Leveraging this space effectively can make a big difference in retaining a customers or losing it to a rival. Our POS targeting engine is designed to create a targeting recipe with the in-store media. It enables the retailers to select the best stores, those hit hardest by the competitor threats. So without further ado, let's move on and see what exactly is in our in-store media solution. So in this section, we'll explore how we are unlocking the full power of in-store media to dominate the shopper attention. So to build the solution, we have focused on what it matters the most. The first and the foremost thing is that it is very client-centric and it is aligned with each unique brand's and campaign's objectives and goals. The second most important feature is that it is very measurement ready. By that, we mean that for each of the stores where we are going live with the targeting, we will be having a control store which will be having the similar KPIs so that whenever we want to measure the impact of the campaigns, right, we already have the baseline numbers to compare. Our model has been integrated with numerous targeting strategies as well. So as a user, you can select, you know, you can select basis the objectives. You can target the stores on the basis of brands, categories, etc. And finally, it is very user friendly, meaning that it is very flexible, adaptable, and it is tailor made for in-store media campaigns. So that was a high level overview about the model. Next in, we'll move what actually goes inside the models, the attributes. So yes, so first we start with the input set of stores. Next in, we for all of our retailer stores, we bring in the competitor intelligence data from the Placer AI. Some of the important data that we bring in from the third-party Placer AI data sets are the dwell time of the competitor stores, the average visitors, the unique visitors that are visiting there. Next up, we also bring in one of the important features that is the zone level filtering, wherein we bring the information alongside for each of our retailer, the competitor density thing. So this was all about, the third-party data set that we are bringing. Over and above it, we also bring in for each of our retailers, the transactional variables together with, the third-party data set and our own transactional variables. We are done with the data prep steps. Next in, according to the client need and the number of stores we want to go live with the targeting, we select the recipes and that is how that is all which goes inside the model. So all in all, we can say that, from strategy to result, our in-store model is built for creating the impact. With data-driven strategies powered by performance boost, we are able to enhance the campaign results and elevate its performance. So that was a high-level overview about our in-store solution. Now, what matters the most is like what exactly is the methodology that we are following. So yes. So this is about the methodology. So as we have mentioned earlier, that we start with the input pool of stores, right? Post that, we bring in the local intelligence, from the third-party place AI data set. Once we have, entered, once we have entered the competitor zones and the third-party place AI data set, we then input the targeting recipes through which we want to, target the audience and the stores. So stores are then ranked on the basis of the KPIs that are given, and through those KPIs and the targeting recipes, our top stores are shortlisted. Then once the top stores are shortlisted, we then create KPIs at different product hierarchies and at different time frames, which is very important, because further these all KPIs will be given to the model for the clustering purpose. At this point of time, our whole data prep step is done, and we are now ready with the modeling exercise. We pass all of this information in the models where we are going live with the modeling techniques. So we pass in all this information and we do the clustering exercise. One of the unique features during the cluster creation is that, for each of the clusters that are going to be created, it automatically selects a similar control stores. And this process goes on until and unless we find the best possible control stores for each of the targeted stores. This is really important, as we have already mentioned that, whenever we want to do the measurement of the campaigns, this will help us. So once we have the best test and control combinations, we select those stores for going live with the targeting. So that was a high-level overview about the methodology section. Next up is what matters the most is the result part. So moving on. So since we have done the clustering and we have also applied some data dimensionality reductional techniques. So we validated our model across various key performance matrices, and our model has performed rigorously well across all these KPIs which are mentioned over here. So all in all, we can say that through all these performance KPI matrices, that our model is very robust and is built and is one of the best and is built for real world impact. It is one of the best solutions when it comes to the in-store media targeting. So that was more about the technical validations. But as a data scientist and as an analyst, it's not only about the technical validations, but it is also business validation is also equally important. So as you have mentioned before, that for each of the test stores where we are going live with the targeting, we selected a similar control store. So it was very important for us, to see before the campaign start period that each and every store is having the similar KPIs. So for that, what we did is we performed a t-test on the spend and visit KPIs at different time periods of 8 weeks, 13 weeks, and 26 weeks. And we got a relatively high p-value, suggesting that there was absolutely very less difference between the test and the control stores on the spend and visits, which further validates the fact that our model was quite robust and it can be easily productionized. So that was all about the third engine, which is the in-store targeting engine. Now, moving on. So till now, we have explored the three engines powering the CRP suite. Yeah, imagine a world where all these solutions and competitive insights, comes together. Yes, we are talking about the CRP dashboard. So we have done seamlessly integrated and productionized all the three solutions, the two solutions which Rajat talked about and the POS targeting engine, all at one unified place, which we have called as our Voila dashboard. So together, these three solutions address the key three threats that Rajat talked about in the triangle of turbulence. So moving on, we'll see the key characteristics um, of the CRP dashboard. Yes. So let's take a pause and see, although these all solutions, right, which we have discussed, are actually quite different from each other, but they share one common characteristic among them. And that common characteristic is that they are very data science centric. So from a non-tech point of view, it will be very difficult for a person to run this model. So that is where an idea of competitive landscape dashboard came into the picture. So over and above all these three solutions which we have talked about, we have also built one competitive landscape dashboard which will also empower the non-tech users to use all these three solutions which we have built. So without further ado, we'll see like how our whole dashboard looks like. So before I deep dive into the anatomy of the dashboard, I would just like to mention over here that all these numbers that we have mentioned here under the boxes and the maps and the geolocations of the stores, these are only for the representative purpose, and these are dummy numbers. So yes, let's deep dive into how our dashboard actually looks like. So, at the top, you will see that we have 4 different tabs. One is the competitor landscape, and the other 3 for the 3 different engines that we talked about, right? So, in the middle, you will see a map of the US, right? And above it, you will see 2 key filters that we have given, one for the retailer and one for the competitor. So as a user, let's say if I select any of the stores from the retailer filters, then that store will automatically pop up on the map, and the corresponding KPIs which will be popped up in the boxes given beside it. So as a user, if I want to see which model to use at what period of time, and let's say if I select from the competitors filters any uh, any selection, then the competitors in the vicinity of our selected retail stores will be popped up. So as a user, let's say if I see new competitor has opened up recently, then easily I can go and run the new competitor model. Let's say if I see that there is a continuous decline in the performance metrics of my stores, right, and the loyalty is shifting below and there's a loss of revenue, I can easily go and run the in-store model, because it suggests that if we do not address this, it might lead to store closure. And if I see that one of our stores or some of our stores are facing intense competitor rivalry, then we can go and select and run the existing competitor model. So in this way, we identify the opportunity and run our solution. So with this CRP dashboard, we can say that we transform the complexity into clarity and bring the intelligence, actionability, and scalability all into one unified platform. So moving on, and with that, we have seen the 3 major solutions, right? And in short, we can say that this bridges, it is a bridge between the intelligent and the impact. So with this, I'll hand it over back to Rajat to wrap it all up and share what our solutions makes up for our future of retail strategy. So thanks a lot, Rajat. Moving over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Namish. So, 3 path-breaking solutions, 1 productionized dashboard, and an immense opportunity for retailers to gain that decisive competitive edge. Yes, that's the momentum the CRP suite has created, not just for the business, but for the but for every single retail partner we serve, right? And in fact, it will not be an exaggeration to say that it's not just the momentum, it's a movement that transforms the uncertainty into strategy, and then further that strategy into the sustained retail leadership. So to complete the whole circle of our discussion today and bring everything to closure, of course, it's been a long talk we have actually had. So let's revisit back to the very dreadful triangle of turbulence we started right at the very start of this presentation with the three forces that once threatened the retail stability and see how each challenge has now been transformed into a great opportunity for the retailer. A new competition has just opened its store near a retailer? Worry not. Now we have our newcomer response engine, a solution that enables early identification of the high risk customers even before the competitor store actually opens. If it is the mass churn of customers that's frightening the retailer, in anticipation of that store closure, the point of sale target engine is at their rescue. A solution that we have created that powers media campaigns set up for the stores with high churn risk due to the entrenched competition. And finally, when the relentless rivalry from the existing competitors threatens to disrupt the stability, our answer is the established rival engine designed to monitor churn continuously and safeguard the customer loyalty. So that's how we break the triangle of turbulence and rebuild into what we are calling the triangle of triumph, where every edge represents resilience, intelligence, and growth. Together, these solutions, they don't just fight churn, they redefine competitive strategy, they empower retailers to anticipate, to act, and finally win in a market where disruption, it's the only constant. Because of course, in a world where competition never sleeps, CRP Suite ensures you never lose. After all, it's not just a solution, it's a proven strategy for the sustained retail dominance. So with this, we come to the end of this presentation. David, I hope we are right on time. We really hope you liked it. And in case if you have any questions, maybe you can utilize some of it today, or you can reach out to us even on LinkedIn. Thank you all.
So good. So good. Loved it. Namish, come back as well, please, man. And I could see the emojis coming up on the screen. So yeah, loads of clapping emojis, heart emojis as well. Feel free to jump into the comments as well, because I do love to give people a specific little call out and stuff like that. Man, what a project. Like what a project. It's like an intense piece of work, and you guys have clearly delivered, which is good to see. And there is a few questions in the Q&A, so we'll definitely jump to those. The thing that I'll call out with the Q&A actually is, even if you don't have your own question, you can upvote other people's questions. So, you know, if you're watching along, have a little look at that and perhaps give a little upvote to any questions that particularly jump out. And the thing I love about this particular project, though, is obviously technically complex. There's a lot to it, but it is absolutely rooted in adding business value. And I think that is obviously the sweet spot for data. It's the reason we do it all. We're actually having an impact in the businesses that we're working with. So I think my first question specifically was actually more around the business impact you've seen. I don't know if you could share any more about the business impact, or if there's been like specific measurable outcomes that you've seen from building this product. The other thing I'll maybe just get you to do, Rajat, is if everyone's already got your contact details, maybe unshare your screen, and then they'll get to see our faces bigger, which is good for everybody, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Who doesn't want our faces in HD? Amazing. Yeah, so business impact. What have you seen now that you've built this product?
Of course, David. And I think it's a question I was anyway anticipating. And when I mentioned, CRP, it's a movement. It's not just a momentum. I was certainly not using hyperbole. I really meant it when I said that, because for every single retailer, we have either pitched the solution or we have actually deployed. We have only seen, the positives coming out of it. One of the examples that maybe come right at the top of my head, it's basically from one of the retailers in US where we deployed the newcomer response engine. The retailer was anyway going through the period of a lot of amalgamations, etc. And with the whole campaign setup that we actually designed, we actually witnessed a repeat rate of 96% post the campaign from these high and medium risk customers, which is just huge, right? It just totally means that out of all those people who were about to lapse, 96% of them are still coming back to your store, which is a great number to actually start with. So yes, that's the momentum that we have created with the solution, and of course, we are very, very proud of it as well.
As you should be, man. And like I can tell as you're describing it, you're talking about the passion that's coming through, which mate, it's amazing to see. I have got a few more questions of my own, but I will just quickly jump into the Q&A. If both of you just want to read along just as we're going through them. But what I've done is I've actually ordered them by most upvotes. And the question there from Vasco is at the top. I did notice at the start, Vasco, you're joining us from Eindhoven, which is nice to see. We've gone for that international audience. A big shout out for you there. The question specifically is, with the retail market being done increasingly by pure online stores, does CapBoost treat those cases as well, perhaps ignoring the geo components? If so, does it also perform as well? What's been your experience with, CapBoost? And if anyone's looking at it, have you got any advice, hints, tips specifically about working with CapBoost?
So I think CatBoost, out of the three models, it was certainly the winner. And if we see from the linear approach that other approaches actually give, CatBoost actually comes with those advancements. For this question in particular, David, the idea itself was to focus on the brick and mortar style itself, because online part still is something that has started penetrating, but still not capturing the majority of your revenue, right? Even today, more than 90% of the sales that we are actually covering in majority of the retailers, we see it coming from the in-store format only. So that's the whole point, because that's the pain point where we see the whole idea basically comes from. And that's the reason why the model, as of now, it focuses only on the in-store piece, the brick and mortar store to be precise.
Yeah.
But obviously in future, that's how the changing landscape works.
Amazing. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And the thing that I love with it, and one of the things that I'd written down here was, obviously you're dealing with non-technical stakeholders, and you've actually got to get this information into the right hands of, marketing or branding or pricing or whatever it is. And yeah, that came across in terms of the delivery of the dashboard in the end. In terms of those stakeholders then, can you share a little bit more about how you've seen them like using it? What have been the interventions? I guess like an intervention is obviously reduce the price of a product or whatever, but have you seen any creative interventions and how people have used the tool?
Yes, I think again a personal experience there, David. So right now, what we have seen in majority of the markets is that the retailers, they generally take actions based on the best of their business acumen, right? And those are, many a times it could be a little myopic. They could be looking at it from a certain aspect, but they might miss out the wider picture altogether. And this is where the whole opportunity identification comes into picture, that even Namish showcased, right? So because the whole intention for us to bring everything together in one dashboard was not just to reduce the complexities and technicalities of it, but was also to give the whole opportunity thing to people. I, as a retailer, I should understand that where exactly the opportunity lies, right? It's easy for me to maybe run a model to figure out that, okay, I need a new competitor model because a new store has opened up. But it's even more important for me to understand till what extent I need to run a campaign, because that's where the opportunities are coming from. So that's the idea. And obviously the whole purpose or the whole essence of bringing that Voila dashboard into picture was to reduce that dependency from ATS, to make it even more reachable to the folks who are a little less technical, maybe directly to the clients. So that's the idea.
Fantastic. In terms of that, Namish, like jump in as well, man. If any of these questions are particularly as I'm asking them, jumping out to you, definitely would love to hear your opinion as well. I think one thing that I was thinking as you were explaining in the beginning there, building out kind of the landscape, how did you approach building that competitor landscape for the client? How many different retailers, stores are considered? Could you perhaps explain a little bit more about that particular piece of the project? Come
Yes,
on, Namish, I've got you in, man. I've got you back. Amazing.
Yeah. So the number of retailers, right, considered varies by market to market and from client to client. So our approach mainly focuses on capturing competitors that collectively, accounts for approximately 70 to 80% of the market share. So basis that criteria, right, the number of competitors we typically selects are ranging somewhat between, 25 to 30. So these are, 25 to 30 competitors, and maybe, if you leverage that a little more, so at max I can say till 50, but yes, again, it depends on totally on the market dynamics.
Amazing. Yeah, makes a lot of sense, man. Anything to add from yourself, Rajat, on that one, or?
No, David,
Oh,
it's
good.
absolutely correct. It totally depends on the market, because and the reason why Namish mentioned it 70 to 80%, because we see that is where the bulk of your retailers lie, right? In case if
Yeah.
you go on stretching beyond that, you'll have lower presence of some of the smaller names, still a threat, but still some of the names maybe which could not be contributing enough for the
Yeah,
model.
less of a threat. Makes a
Yes.
lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. I think the other thing that I really took from it was obviously you were enriching the own data, that you had access to with third-party data. I think you specifically called out Placer AI, and actually we've got an ex-Placer AI
Yes.
solutions engineer in the comments that thanking you for the shout out. But I'm sure their data is amazing. But did you have to do any kind of data validation yourself? Did you have to do any accuracy checks in terms of that data?
Yes. So Placer AI, I read the comment and it was really, really a pleasure to see that. So Placer AI, yes, that's been the agency that we have collaborated with to start with the solution. Now, when it comes to accuracy checks and data validations, David, and the person who has asked this question, so this basically lies in the very heart of dunnhumby's philosophy, right? So for this piece in particular, we do have a dedicated team which has been taking care of how exactly the data from any of the third party vendors, how exactly that's being ingested. And then even beyond that, even beyond what the team has given us, even we from our side, we have went ahead, we have done some market research, went into the client's website, different retailers, even other open source data frames, for example, OSM, etc., in order to understand, how the landscape looks like. For some of the cases where it was even possible, we tried to link it with our own retail database and then figured out what we are getting versus what we have, even if it's making sense or not. So it's been a three-tier security system, if we can put it that way, in order to understand the validation and the accuracy checks.
Amazing. Makes lots of sense. Makes lots of sense. And there's a couple more questions in the Q&A feature, so I will fire through a couple of those. Just as I'm getting through these, anyone out there that wants to drop a little thank you into the chat, I would love to see it. I'm a fan of the emojis, but I do like to see written words now and again. And Nordin, as if on cue, Nordin, you must have been doing that as I was talking. So massive thanks to Rajat and Namish for a comprehensive and super interesting presentation. Thanks for dunnhumby for another great contribution, being a fantastic sponsor of the Data Science Festival. Man, couldn't have said it better myself. So there's a few more coming in there. I'm going to come back to that in 1 second. So please do give me some stuff to shout out. I did see there, Namish, you've jumped ahead of me, man. You've typed an answer, which is nice to see. But I'm gonna ask it out loud so that people can see it as well. So there's a question from Raudal. Is customer behavior tracked at an individual level, at household level, or segment level for these features? Different levels of granularity obviously affect model accuracy and stuff like that. So Namish, you typed an answer, but if you don't mind, could you explain it out loud for everyone else?
Yes. So basis the transaction pattern we get for each of the customers from our retailers, right? We do build in dunnhumby our some segmentations at customer level. So those mainly depends upon your how frequently you are coming to the retailer and what kind of products you are purchasing. So this is all those different attributes. We do build some some segmentation at customer level. I think Rajat, if you want to add anything.
No, absolutely not. I think everything has been covered, Namish.
Amazing. Top answer, Namish. Thank you very much. The next question there from Zahid, and I can see some comments coming. Masab, Vasco, and Vindia. Thank you for your comments. I will get to those. The question there from Zahid, we might have covered it in the last part of the chat there, but just a sanity check. The stores that are targeted based on which stores have customers that are most at threat or by something else. So I guess you will do this for a particular client. It's a piece of work that you do. As mentioned, 70 to 80% of, competitors, then you'll map it out from there. So you're looking to get a broad landscape of what the environment looks like, is how you target stores, basically. Amazing. I understood something. That's always a good sign. It's always a good sign if the host understands something. It doesn't always happen. So yeah, question there from Amit. This is more of a talking point. I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong answer. So Amit is just as a broad talking point. Obviously, he's asking basically about rewarding faithful customers, and I suspect this is more of a question for your end clients than for you as data professionals at dunnhumby. But obviously, you've talked a bit there about investing rewards into people that are going to churn. And Amit's turned it around a little bit and said, do you do anything to keep people that are already good customers? As I say, it's not a question necessarily for you, but do you see any of your stores or clients doing anything to make sure that the really good customers are happy as well?
Of course.
Yeah.
This is for you, Amit. So in 8 years I've been into the business. I think rewarding your best customers really take you a long way, but you should never leave your bad performing customers also, because they do keep the potential to become that best customers, right? And that's something that we are trying with this whole approach in CRP also, right? The idea, we understand that if a store has opened, the customers are less faithful, they are going away. But as a retailer, as a business owner, maybe it does not sit in the best of my business opportunity to just go away with that idea and let them go, right? For me as a retailer, the best plan is to work with them, engage them in the best possible manner, make them from a disengaged to a more engaged and a loyal customer, and that's how I will grow my business. So that's where I'll bring my 2 cents.
Yeah, perfect, man. You're out there building super fans. That's what it's all about, isn't it? So yeah, that sounds good. We are going to start to draw things to a close. I will just read out some of these comments that have come in. So great work, Rajat and Namish. Amazing presentation. Big thanks. Fabulous session, both Rajat and Namish. Very engaging. Great session. Great session. Thanks for sharing. Amazing session. Kudos to you both. I love that word, kudos. Great use. I love that. Superb session, Namish and Rajat. Thank you. And then Amit, you're my man, Amit. You're asking those tough questions as well, keeping us on our toes. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to hand over to you, Rajat, actually, first and foremost. So this was your repeat. You came back for another session. How was it? How did you find delivering today's session?
It's a pleasure always, David. I think it's a homecoming for me. I was super comfortable with the session. Meeting you back, it's a pleasure again. So great experience for me.
I love it. I was trying to tempt you into coming in person to London. So I'm putting that out in the universe. So anyone from dunnhumby watching, send these two to London. Let's have a go. What about yourself, Namish? How did you find it? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was really great. I'll equally resonate with Rajat. I really enjoyed it a lot, and thank you for inviting us again.
Mate, it's amazing to have you with us, and thank you for taking the time. I do say it in a lot of sessions, but obviously it's not just the time of delivering this session. I know we talked about beforehand, but you've had practice runs, you've prepared the presentation. So I really, from the community, thank you both very much. And the other thing I did enjoy just before we started the webinar, we were talking about what you guys would be doing after this. So what is the time now where you are? Are you still planning to go and celebrate delivering a successful webinar together?
Of course, it's been a successful event for us also. So we are certainly planning to celebrate. Namish, I'm not sure if you would like to share your plans.
Yeah, Rajat, whatever you say, we can go if you're available.
Very tactical, Namish, but you deserve to celebrate however you choose to celebrate. So yeah, absolutely amazing session. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks again to dunnhumby. I am like a broken record, but as a community, we can't do it without companies like dunnhumby supporting us. I will also call out, we've got 2 days left on Winterfest. We've got some amazing content. We're talking a little bit tomorrow about LLM model performance and how to perhaps monitor some of that stuff. And then on Friday, we've got Joe Reese joining us from the US. A little bit more of a data engineering leaning, but talking about how there is perhaps a bit of a shift in data engineering principles with AI. And Joe is an excellent speaker, so I'd definitely say check that one out. But for now, thank you all very much. Goodbye, and enjoy the rest of your day, whatever it is you're up to.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks,
Thank
David.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.